We're going to read Hershel and the Hanukkah Goblins by Eric Kimmel and illustrated by Trina Start-Hyman. Wonderful illustrations. Narrated and abridged and possibly commentated on by me, and goblin voices adapted from the interpretation that I grew up with from my mom. Hershel, of the title, Hershel of Ostropol, you see him walking here in the opening page, is a legendary sort of folk tale hero of the Eastern European Jewish communities, and there are lots of different stories about him. He has a lot of characteristics shared with sort of trickster figures. He can figure things out. He's industrious. He's a tailor in some versions of the stories. In other versions, he's just good at a lot of different things, but he's always a traveler. So, he's traveling, and it is the first night of Hanukkah. Hershel of Ostropol was walking down the road. He was tired and hungry. Nonetheless, his step was light. Soon he would reach the next village, where bright candles, merry songs, and platters piled high with tasty potato latkes awaited him. But when he arrived, the village was silent and dark. Not a single Hanukkah candle could be seen. "Isn't tonight the first night of Hanukkah?" Hershel asked the villagers. "We don't have Hanukkah, Hershel," one of them answered sadly. "No Hanukkah? How can that be?" "It's because of the goblins. They hate Hanukkah." Here we have the Rebbe, who's explaining things to Hershel and all of the men and women of the town. And the adorable children. "The goblins haunt the old synagogue at the top of the hill. They hate Hanukkah. Whenever we try to light a menorah, the goblins blow out the candles. They break our dreidels. They throw our potato latkes on the floor. Those wicked goblins make our lives miserable all year long, but on Hanukkah, it's really bad." Hershel knew he needed to help the villagers. "I'm not afraid of goblins. Tell me how to get rid of them." "It's not as easy as you think," the rabbi warned. "You must spend 8 nights in the old synagogue. The Hanukkah candles must be lit each night. On the 8th night, the king of the goblins must light them himself. That is the only way to break their power." "I'm not afraid, Rabbi," Hershel said. "If I can't outwit a few goblins, then my name isn't Hershel of Ostropol." The villagers wished Hershel good luck. As in, they didn't think he could do it. They had no potato latkes to give him, so they packed several hard-boiled eggs for him to eat, along with a big jar of pickles. The rabbi gave Hershel a brass menorah, a package of candles, and a box of matches. Then the villagers said goodbye. Nobody expected to see Hershel again. It was long past sundown by the time Hershel made the climb up to the old synagogue. The crumbling building was gloomy and dark, and the rusty hinges squealed. Hershel shuddered. Well, he could believe that goblins lived there. He put the first 2 candles in the menorah and set it on the windowsill. He struck a match and lit the shamash candle. He said the blessings and was about to light the other candle when he heard a voice. So we light one candle, the shamash, which doesn't get a blessing, so it can do work to light the other ones. And the other candles, once they're blessed, you can't do work by them because they've been blessed. "Hey! What are you doing?" Hershel turned around. Here was a goblin no bigger than a horsefly, with a long pointy tail and 2 little bat's wings hovering in the air. "I'm lighting Hanukkah candles," Hershel said. "Tonight is the first night of Hanukkah." Here's the little goblin. "Oh, no, it's not. We don't allow Hanukkah." "Not around here." "Is that so?" said Hershel. "Who's going to stop me? A little pipsqueak like you?" "I may be little, but I'm strong," said the goblin. "Really? Can you crush rocks in your hand?" The goblin laughed. "Crush rocks? You're joking. Nobody's that strong." "I am. Watch." And he took a hard-boiled egg and squeezed it until the yolk ran through his fingers. Look, he's so scared. He's almost cute. "That is how hard I am going to squeeze you if you try to stop me from lighting these candles." The little goblin's eyes opened wide. In the dim light, it looked exactly like a rock. You leave me alone, he squeaked. Gladly, said Hershel, if you let me light my candles. All right, said the goblin. One night won't make a big difference, but you better not be here tomorrow. Big, scary goblins are coming, much bigger than I. And if they catch you lighting Hanukkah candles, you'll be sorry. We'll see about that, Hershel said to himself, and he lit the first candle. The next goblin is my favorite goblin. On the second night, another goblin appeared. This one was fat, and he waddled like a goose. Hershel was finishing his pickles and hard-boiled eggs. Have some pickles, he said to the goblin. Pickles? Here, catch. And Hershel tossed him a sour pickle. The goblin caught it in his mouth and swallowed it. Pickles are good. Do you like them? I have plenty in this jar. Take all you want. The greedy goblin grabbed as many pickles as his claws could hold, but when he tried to pull his fist out of the jar, he couldn't. I'm stuck, the goblin shouted. You put a spell on this jar that's holding me fast. That's right, Hershel said, laughing, and it's a very powerful spell. You came here tonight to stop me lighting candles, so now I'm going to light them while you stand with your hand in that jar and watch. How do you like that? No, no, the goblin screamed. I hate Hanukkah. It's a little strange torture mechanism, but here you go. Whatever works. Too bad. You'll have to get used to it. Hershel said the blessings and lit the candles. Slowly. Then he sang all of his favorite Hanukkah songs, and the goblin wailed, and Hershel finally decided to let him go. Shall I tell you how to break the spell? Yes, yes, I can't stand it anymore. Let go of the pickles. Your greed is the only thing holding you. The goblin let go of the pickles, and his hand slipped out of the jar. How that goblin raged! He had stood there while Hershel lit Hanukkah candles under his nose. He stamped his foot so hard that he shattered into a million pieces, and the wind blew them away, little goblin bits. The third night came. Hershel felt something watching him as he set the candles, so instead of lighting them, he began playing with the dreidel. An hour passed. Hershel looked up. Sitting across the table was another goblin. This one was red and had horns and many noses and was much bigger than the one from the night before. It's getting late, said the goblin. When are you going to light the candles? Later, there's plenty of time. Hershel spun his dreidel. This is more fun. What are you playing with? The goblin asked. It looks like a top. It's a dreidel. Don't you know about dreidels? No. Too bad. Dreidels are lots of fun, and you can make lots of money if you know how to play. Really? The goblin was interested now. All goblins like money. This one was no exception. How do you play? It's very simple, Hershel said, but you must have gold. That's the first rule. I have plenty. Is this enough? And the goblin poured a pile of gold coins onto the table. Okay, so the rules you're about to hear are not, in fact, how we play them. That's fine, Hershel said. Now listen carefully. This letter is shin. If it comes up, you give me half of your gold. This letter is hey. If comes up, you give me half of your gold. This is gimel. If the dreidel falls on this letter, you give me all of your gold. Understand? Wait, there's one letter left. What about this one? That's nun. If the dreidel falls on nun, I don't give you anything. Contemplating? Weird snaky thing? I think that's his tail, maybe? You go first. The goblin spun the dreidel. The little top whirled round and round, and when it fell, the letter on top was shin. Too bad, Hershel said, taking a big handful of the goblin's gold. Try again. Maybe you'll have better luck. The goblin spun the dreidel again, and this time it fell on hay. This just isn't your night, Hershel said, helping himself to half the goblin's gold. One more time. It's bound to improve. Would you like me to spin? Yes, the goblin grumbled. He was very unhappy about losing his money. So Hershel spun the dreidel, and he got none. Oh my! I don't give you anything. I get to keep it all. Say, that was fun. Get some more gold, and we'll play again. What about the Hanukkah candles? We'll light them later. There's plenty of time. Not for me, the goblin said. I'm leaving now. I don't like this game. I don't like Hanukkah, and I don't like you. Don't go, Hershel pleaded. I know lots of games. Stay a while. We'll have fun. Goodbye. The goblin spread his wings and flew off into the night, and Hershel lit his candles in peace. You can see the menorahs in the window, and that was traditional to show that you were celebrating Hanukkah. And people in some areas don't put their Hanukkahs or menorahs in the window because they are fearful of being identified as Jewish, but different families in the U.S. do different things. Okay. Montage scene. On the following nights, other goblins came. One had 6 heads. One had 3 eyes. All of them were terrible and fierce. They rolled their eyes. They bellowed. They stamped. And they changed themselves into horrible shapes. They tried to stop Hershel, but Hershel fooled them all. Finally, the 7th night arrived. 8 tiny candles flickered on the windowsill. So the shamus, and then 7 nights. 8. Hershel sat back and enjoyed the light. But where were the goblins? Had they given up? Hershel felt very sleepy. His eyes closed. Suddenly, he sat up. He heard a horrible sound, a voice that sounded like the cracking of bones. Happy Hanukkah, Hershel of Ostropol. Who is it? Who's there? Don't you know who I am, Hershel? Weren't you expecting the king of the goblins? The voice rose to a hurricane roar. It ripped the shingles from the synagogue roof and broke the windows. The lights of the Hanukkah reeled in the savage blast, but they did not go out. You're too early, Hershel shrieked. You're not supposed to come until tomorrow. Every host's nightmare. The great wind died down. Don't worry, Hershel. I am far away, but I have the power to see you and speak to you. Enjoy this Hanukkah evening, my friend. It will be your last. Tomorrow night I will come for you. You fooled my slaves, the other goblins. Let's see if you can fool me. Poor Hershel, what was he to do? The king of goblins was on his way, and no power on earth could stop him. Unless Hershel had an idea. It was a big chance, but he could take it. It was the only way to save himself and Hanukkah. So here's the blast of the voice, and we got the little fateful jar of pickles there. It was the last night of Hanukkah. Hershel set the candles in the menorah, but instead of placing it on the windowsill, he put the menorah and the box of matches on a small table near the door, and then he waited. Night fell. It grew dark as pitch inside the gloomy old synagogue. Outside, the whole world lay cold and silent. Suddenly, a great gust whipped the synagogue door from its hinges. The whole building shook. A fearsome voice spoke. Hershel of Ostropol. Did I hear something? It is I, the king of the goblins. Hershel laughed. Don't be silly. You're one of the boys from the village. You're just trying to scare me. I am not a boy. I am the king of the goblins. I'll believe it when I see it. Show yourself to me. Behold, I stand before you. Do you believe me now? Pretty scary. Hershel tried not to look. Even in the darkness, he could see the outline of a monstrous shape filling the doorway, a figure too horrible to describe. He pretended not to care. It's too dark. I can't see anything. A candlestick and some matches are by the doorway. Why don't you light a few candles? Then I'll see what you really are. Indeed you shall. A match flared. The shamus candle caught the flame. Hershel's blood turned to water at the awful sight before him, but he did not lose courage. Master of the world, he silently prayed, thou who created the heavens and the earth and the spirits of the air, stand by me now. Then he addressed the goblin. It's still too dark. What are you afraid of? There are plenty of candles. Why not light them all? A hideous hand took the shaman's candle and lit the others, one by one. Hershel felt himself growing faint, but he forced himself to look. His eyes grew wider and wider as each candle caught the flame. 6, 7, 8. He's praying there. The shorthand for Adonai, or the Hebrew word for God. So he's praying. The king of the goblins stood before him. Now, Hershel, do you know who I am? I know you're not Queen Esther. Very funny. Enjoy the joke. It will be your last. That's what you think. Begone, or I'll take a stick to you. How dare you speak to the king of the goblins that way? I'll speak to you any way I please. You have no power. Your spell is broken. See, the menorah is lit. You thought those were ordinary candles you were lighting. They weren't. They were Hanukkah candles, and you lit them yourself. The king of the goblins roared with fury. The earth trembled and a mighty wind arose. It ripped off the synagogue roof and blew down the walls. It splintered the timbers and scattered them like matchsticks. Around the menorah, the whirlwind howled, but the candles never flickered. They burned with a clear, steady flame. The king of the goblins had no power over them. Hanukkah had been saved. The great one vanished as suddenly as it had risen. Hershel rubbed his eyes. The night was as still as before, but the synagogue was gone. Walls, roof, floor, even the foundation had vanished, but the menorah remained standing upon the little table where Hershel had placed it. He waited till the last candle burned down, and then he started down the road. I'd better hurry, he thought. I don't want to miss the last night of Hanukkah. But there was no reason to worry. If in every window there stood a menorah with 9 gleaming candles to light the way, the whole village was waiting for him. The end. Happy Hanukkah.